your mom is more of like a visual artist and your dad is like in audio with like music.
Good job, you know everything. I like it.
Girl. I hope so.
It was like my first time playing in like crowds in Santa Monica, like, and I got used to it. It was like, I really enjoyed it.
Because I think a lot of the music industry hasn't totally known like where we fit, you know? Which is honestly kind of fun.
I don't have time to have that many friends because we were touring so much.
There's ups and downs through it all, but at the end of the day, like, as long as we get to keep making music, I'm stoked, you know?
I think that's what really, I don't know, felt like a wake-up call of, wow, I want to be way more real about what I'm going through, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling.
To hear people that often don't even speak English, but like singing lyrics, like Cool Kids and stuff like that, it's like, it's such a joy.
Alright, so you grew up around like the Toluca Lake and Chino Hills, Glendale-ish area.
Yes.
What was it like growing up there?
Yeah, so I mean, our first bit of growing up was in Chino, which is much more like suburban.
Totally.
At the time, there were lots of cows, so it kind of always smelled like cows, which is the best smell. But it was fun. It was a great place for a family. And then we moved to the valley and like Toluca Lake and stuff. And that was cool. I loved growing up there, and we were super close to like Hollywood. I'd get on the red line and go down to Chinatown and stuff with my friends in high school and stuff. So that was a fun experience. Now we're in Pasadena, which I dig. So
cool.
All over LA, you know?
Yeah, just like every part of like northern LA.
Yes.
Growing up in LA was really fun because we obviously had a lot of opportunities to like see bands and see really cool concerts and things like that. Yeah, but it was fun. LA is definitely like kind of crazy. Like
yeah, there's a lot going on all the time.
A lot going on, lots of traffic, but
especially when there's rain and
and it rained today, so it was a little crazy, but
yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed living in Chino. Like, always hung out with my friends in Chino. Like I loved drinking the water there. Had the
better
best,
than LA water.
Yeah, growing up there was the best time ever.
What else did you do when you were growing up? Like, what were your hobbies? Were you into like dance or art or anything?
I actually did do dance for like, oh my gosh, I don't even know, maybe collectively like at least 7 years, I think.
Oh, wow.
And I did like jazz, ballet, tap. I never did hip hop.
I played soccer. I watched movies a lot there in Chino, like ate great food.
I always tried to do art, but I was terrible at it.
Really?
Oh, my mom was a great artist and a painter and stuff, and I was absolutely horrendous. So I tried that, and it wasn't very good. I loved reading. I wasn't good at a lot of things, so learning was something that I was kind of able to like excel at, sort of. I tried, sports. I was terrible at like soccer and skateboarding, so that was the only thing I was okay at, so that worked out.
Gotcha.
Beyond that, just hanging out. Cooking, I guess. I still cook. So
cool.
It's a fun thing.
Does your wife appreciate that?
Oh, yes, she does. I make her lunch every day for work.
Dang, every
dinner
day?
when she gets home. Oh, yeah.
Damn, that's really fucking nice.
I'm pretty cool, hanging.
Cool. Do you have like a parent you think you're more similar to?
That's a good question. I am more similar to my dad, who is like, very similar to me, where we're like, let's have fun, let's, my mom loves to have fun too, but he's very like, go, 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 let's go be spontaneous and, I don't know, go on a trip tomorrow, or, go on a road trip or whatever. And he also is very in touch with his feelings like I am, so like he'll be watching a commercial and he can cry.
Really?
Like that.
At a commercial?
Me too.
Oh my
We're
gosh.
totally the same. Like I'll watch a trailer for something and then I'll be like, oh my gosh, it's the best movie ever, and I haven't even seen it yet. But as I've gotten older, I've found a lot more similarities with my mom as I've like appreciated, I don't know, playing games and I don't know, more. She's a little more chill than my dad, which is fun that they have like I have both to sort of relate to.
I think I have the humor of my father and the temperament of my mother, I would say. And I have a bit of the spaciness from my dad, but I'd say I'm much more like even-keeled. My dad was always the emotional one. My mom was the contained one. Now I'd say I'm more on that side of things. But I'd say I have a pretty strong bit of both of them. But I'm significantly taller than both of them as well. So
Wait,
neither
really?
of them gave me height. Yeah,
Ah.
they're both kind of short, which is fine.
Your mom is more of like a visual artist, and your dad
Yeah.
is like in audio with like music.
Good job. You know everything. I like it.
Girl. I hope so. What's it called? Like, what was it like having like both those different influences, like artistically, in two different mediums?
Yes, very different. But it was really cool because it made me realize, wow, I can, like with my mom, for example, I can try to do anything and possibly be good at it, or at least have the freedom to try it, which is really cool. And she's really taught that to me because she's one of those people that could just pick up a paintbrush and make the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, and she hasn't really painted in a really long time, you know. So she's sort of taught me, you know, like, just try things because you never know what you might be good at, but also you could at least say that you tried. So that was cool to have a more visual artist as that sort of inspiration. And she's also just helpful, like when we're making merch and
Oh yeah, I
creating,
never
like,
thought about that.
like stage design and all that, and it all is like very helpful for what we do right now. So it's the perfect balance of her knowing how to do that and being so good at it, and then my dad being obviously like amazing with music, and he produced our new album and stuff like that, and we're able to work in the home studio together and write songs, and he can have
I heard.
like a great he can have like a great I don't know, opinion on, oh, how does this sound live? Are we missing something, or what do we need, and things like that. So they complete each other also in that way, which is cool, and that's they're like the perfect teammates for us.
Oh,
So
that's sweet.
yeah.
It was a funny way to grow up because both of them, my parents were so artistic. And my mom for sure isn't as much of like the spacey artist type. My dad's like 100% the spacey artist,
That's
which is
funny.
fun.
Like
Made our childhood very
eclectic.
well. Oh yeah, just like bouncing around constantly. Didn't really care if we did well in school and stuff. Like, that
Oh
was,
wow.
My mom, though, on the other hand, she was much more structured in everything. So we had a good balance. Honestly, like, it was really cool because it kind of taught us that, like, you can be a wide range of personalities and still be very creative. And that's cool to know. Like, sometimes you think, like, you have to have a certain, like, mode of creativity to be, like, talented or whatever. But, like, to know, like, you can kind of fit yourself. And if you challenge yourself, you can be a good artist.
I don't know if it was you or someone else, but did you drop out of school?
So we ended up homeschooling, so we didn't
Gotcha.
technically like drop out.
Yeah, just stopped.
So we stayed in school, but like online.
Okay.
So yeah, we ended up leaving once we got signed. Originally, we left school. I think I was in geometry class when we went to go like sign the record deal.
Wow,
And
that's crazy.
yeah, and soon after is when we were like, okay, I guess we're gonna be doing this for real. So let's, I don't know, I guess homeschool. And that was my sophomore year, I think.
Wow, that's so, I can't even imagine what that's like to just like be in school and then all of a sudden like your life completely changes.
And you're like, okay, bye, friends.
Yeah, for real.
I won't see you. There's, I mean, people that I haven't seen since, and then there's some people that I've like reconnected with recently that I hadn't seen in 6 years or something crazy,
Wow.
because I left like way before everyone else did when they all went to college and stuff like that. So it was definitely a version of like, oh, I'm going away to college, but
Music.
prematurely. And it
Yeah.
was music and super different. So yeah, it was definitely kind of crazy, and I didn't have time to have that many friends because we were touring so much. So yeah, I definitely had to learn like, oh wait, I need to like reinvest in friends and like figure out what that is now that I like have a little bit of time at home.
Did you feel like any type of way or like super alone like when you left school? Like, I mean, you're losing a whole source of
Yeah, like socializing.
yeah.
I would say that it kind of, it had its moments of feeling lonely or just feeling like, oh my gosh, I feel so disconnected from friends. And luckily we were touring with our family, so we had each other to lean on and talk to and all that. And we had some friends that we were able to, you know, I had a friend I could call and talk to on the phone once a week or something like that and see when I was home. But there were definitely times where I was like, man, you know, a lot of people have time for friends, and right now I don't, and that kind of sucks. So there were definitely moments where I was pretty discouraged about that, but we were just so busy that I just, you know, I would be like, oh, I'm bummed, but then I had to go keep working or whatever. So, yeah, but then once we started to have more time as we worked on this new album, that's when I was like, okay, time to really, like, reconnect with friends, because I actually have time to do it. And that was weird.
On a different self-care, like...
Totally. And I'm so glad that I did that, because it was sort of a hard process at first, because, you know, a lot of people just, you know, they're going on with their life, and you missed a lot of it, but I think it's a good opportunity to reconnect, but also, like, make new friends in new places and stuff.
When you guys were all younger, you were performing at, like, the 3rd Street Promenade, which is pretty close to here.
Oh, yeah.
Actually. What was it like to, like, perform for audiences at such a young age?
Honestly, what I think is fun, especially when performing, like, on the street, is it trains you to kind of deal with negative responses well. Because it's inevitable. When you're creating art, like, there are going to be people that like it, people that don't like it. And you can so easily get caught up in the negative tones that are, I don't know, infiltrating your mind. But when you can, like, kind of, I don't know, like, bolster yourself up, so you're like, okay, when you're playing on the street and someone walks away, like, that's fine. They're doing their thing. Whatever. They can like it or not like it, or be busy or not busy, whatever. And, like, kind of just got to be okay with, like, what you do and the art that you create. So I think starting that from a really young age kind of trains you to do it well. Yeah. And to not get too caught up in the, I don't know, in your mind. You know? It's a mess sometimes.
Yeah, I feel.
It was really nerve-wracking because I never expected to playing, like, in, it was, like, my first time playing in, like, crowds at Santa Monica, like, and I got used to it, and it was, like, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. And now you're, like, performing in front of, like, thousands and, like, tens of thousands of people.
Well, whether it was music or whatever they're doing on the street, for example, you're able to take notes from anyone and everyone. Like, wow, that really worked. And the way that they talked about this song before they played it was so powerful, and it really touched people, and that was really cool, and I never thought of doing that, or something like that. So I would say that was really helpful to, I don't know, just, like, be around other musicians constantly, because there's so many great ideas out there and so many talented people that I think, I don't know, it's good to keep drawing inspiration from people and, like, keeping your eyes open instead of just, like, staying in your own world.
Yeah, because then your music or, like, whatever you're doing gets, like, super stale and, like, the same thing all the time.
And you don't want to feel that way.
Yeah, true. You got signed by Warner Brothers, and then you were, like, putting out an album, like, Talking Dreams, your first one. Like, and then you were also, like, doing the Vans Warped Tour. Like, what was it like to have so much, like, attention and, like, press and everything, like, at such a young age?
Yeah, because I was 16, I guess, when all that was, like, really, I mean, I was really, like, 14 or 15 when we got signed, but when it was all really happening a lot, and we were touring a lot, and Warped Tour and all that, that was, like, right when I turned 16, right after I had my sweet 16 party. So, yeah, it was definitely interesting, though, trying to, I don't know, like I said, find balance with just real life and work life, especially since, you know, there are a lot of people who get jobs at 16, but it's usually part-time.
or retail.
Know, right. Yeah. So I got to learn a lot about myself, though, because I think it was just such a unique experience where we were, like, constantly traveling, and I got to learn, like, what hard work meant, even if you don't feel like it, or you feel tired, or you feel, or you're sick.
It is weird. I mean, honestly, like, to be in a completely different life stage that isn't really a life stage because it's so, like, disconnected from what
everyone else is doing.
Like, the standard kind of route. It was weird, and because of that, you know, like, relationships change and friendships change, but the ones that were, like, meant to stay kind of stay true, you know, and stay strong and kind of find their way to work dynamically with this new life. And that's been really cool. Like, sometimes it can feel like, oh, there's so many friends, you're surrounded by people constantly in a school setting. Then all of a sudden, like, we jumped straight into working in a very peculiar industry. So it wasn't, like, in any way standard or normal. But, I don't know, it's been cool to see just how, like, even friendships through that have developed and kind of stuck through, which is awesome.
You guys have grown a bunch since you first started. Like, you were performing with, or touring with 21 Pilots.
Yeah.
And, like, what else was there? There was, like, Neon Trees.
Yeah, Owl City.
Pentatonix. We've
done, like, so much touring with so many different artists, but those are, like, those were all so fun. It's so different, which is, like, so awesome.
What do you mean by, like, different?
Well, because, you know, even just listening out, you know, 21 Pilots, Pentatonix, and, you know, they're, like, not in the same genre at all, and that's so cool that we were able to step into that opening position for two completely different artists. And you know, we've always been a little genreless, or, you know, like dipping our toes in a lot of things.
Yeah, I was about to say. Oh wait, sorry, go ahead.
No, but it's like we don't know, like, oh, we're alt pop and stuff like that, or people have described it as indie, or you know, kind of 80s, or you know, whatever it is. But it's always like, I don't know if we fit into just one genre, which actually I think ends up being a good thing, even if it feels sometimes like weird. Like, oh, sometimes I wish I was just like everybody else, but that's, you know, a lesson anyways of like, wait, you don't want to be thinking that way, and it's good to be different. So
yeah, totally.
So I think it's been cool to play with it, like so many different types of bands and artists, and be able to connect with their fans regardless of like what they sound like or what we sound like. And that just shows people love all types of music, and it doesn't have to be just like one thing all the time. And I think that's really cool.
Totally. And you're like, speaking on like all those like bands and like genres, like you've been dipping your guys' toes into like EDM and like other like kinds of genres. Like, what's that like?
That's been really cool, and that's something that we've gotten to do a lot more recently, which is fun because we've had the time to do it. So working with Audion and Florian Picasso and also Zed, I mean, that's a lot of awesome EDM. And we've also done things with Timbaland and For King Country, and like so many different types of collaborations with different genres, like completely different. And that's been the best way to stay, I don't know, inspired and excited about music, period, because even though we may be really different, there's so many things you can learn from each other, and getting to connect as artists is really special and really cool, because you get to connect in a way that like almost nobody else can, and you get to like bond on, you know, touring and what's that like, and how do you deal with it, how do you keep friends, how do you, you know, do whatever you need to for your marriage or whatever, you know. And that's a really cool thing that all these collaborations have really opened up for us, like these really awesome friendships at the end of the day. And I think that's so cool, and never would have happened unless, you know, we were like, hey, let's be open musically to doing, you know, anything and everything, as long as we love the song and feel excited about it.
It was weird. I mean, our career's been very strange. It's had this like weird movement between all these different worlds, because I think a lot of the music industry hasn't totally known like where we fit, you know, which is honestly kind of fun.
You guys are like genre bending.
It's a fun little time. I think people just don't know, like, oh, like, can they tour this? Because, you know, we've played with everyone from like 21 Pilots to Pentatonix, or like American Authors, or festival settings, or like super pop kinds of shows. And that, like, I don't know, I like being able to interact with those different worlds and kind of just like dip our toes in everywhere, and then like, I don't know, kind of create our own path. And that's been really cool. And honestly, every day there's something new. It can feel so surprising, and there's ups and downs through it all. But at the end of the day, like, as long as we get to keep making music, I'm stoked, you know?
Yeah.
Like, as long as we can do this, I am ready for it. And we are very blessed to be able to have done this for so long, to be able to do this for a long time. And that's a really cool gift. And our fans have supported us and have continued to support us in ways that, like, kind of shocking and very humbling. And that's, I don't know, like, it's cool. Yeah.
You guys recently created like a new record label, like your own.
Yeah.
What's it like to like call the shots for so many things now?
Oh, I'm in control. No, it's great. Honestly, like, we ran into some trouble with Warner Brothers when they just kept firing people. You know, we love working with teams. We're total team players. But when they kept firing every head of every single department pretty consistently, we kept kind of making records for people that like weren't going to be there anymore. And eventually we realized, like, no, we should be making music that we love. And then we were still kind of always trying to do that. But like, we just eventually decided, like, we just need to push. And rather than having other people kind of dictate the direction or dictate like how you move forward, even if they're making the art, like, we need to have anyone that we ever be a part of our team come on board. You know, we're the captains of our ship, and so we're doing that. So we have a great team through Warner Music Group at ADA. So we aren't trying to do the things we don't know how to do, but like, we know how to make music. You know, we know how to show our friends, like, what song do you like most? And you're like, we've done that for a really long time, and it's worked out pretty well. So to have that and to have everything driven by the art, and everything's kind of tertiary to that, it's a part of it, but it's not the centerpiece of it all, like that feels really good. And to not be held back by organizational, I don't know, structural issues is
hierarchy
nice as well.
and bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it out.
I like it because we can choose what we can do and choose what songs we want to put on it instead of having the label help us do it. And
Like,
choose and choose a song for the radio.
Oh yeah, you get to do that too. That's awesome. Like, you guys really like call all the shots.
It's been a totally new chapter, and it's crazy because it's actually, now that we have our own label, and we have a great team as well because we did it with ADA and Warner. So we have an awesome team that we can obviously utilize and get ideas from and bounce ideas with and stuff like that. And because we're not in marketing, we're not in a lot of these things, so
You're writing music and making it, yeah.
Right, so we can't wear all the hats, so it's great to have like such an awesome team of a bunch of people, but at the same time it's really cool to have the final say at the end of the day and say, these are the 12 songs that we want on the album, this is what we want to call it, and of course we're still asking everyone's opinions and we're partners in that, but at the end of the day, it's the album that like we wanted to make as a family and as a band, and we just feel so passionate about like every little and big thing you hear or see visually and stuff like that, which is pretty rare to be involved in all those.
I was gonna say
all those little things, but it is like 1,000 times more work.
Yeah.
But I think it's just so worth it at the end of the day to see it all come together and think, wow, we were so involved in all these little things, and here they are coming together, and it's a real music video now, or it's a real album now, and stuff like that. So
it's like a baby that you
it
made.
Literally, it is. And it's, like I said, a lot, but it's so, I don't know, I think it's so worth it. And I think we're going to be so grateful later that we did this, and we've had a good time, creating visuals and idea boards and stuff like that. So I think I'd be down to do it again.
What kind of made you want to like talk about more vulnerable topics?
I think just going through more life on my own, and also all of us in the band experiencing more life in a deeper way. I think that's what really, felt like a wake-up call of, wow, I want to be way more real about what I'm going through, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and whether it's good, bad, or somewhere in between, I just want to be more honest about it, because if I go through it, somebody else, whether they're my age or way far away from my age, or they live somewhere else in the world, they're bound to go through it too. And I think it's just so comforting to know, first off, that you're just not alone in that.
Yeah.
And also to just know, like, hey, it can and it will get better.
Like, you've also been really vulnerable about like social media and like loneliness. Actually, I was wondering, like, you and Noah, but like primarily you, are like at the front and center of like press and like managing like your social media accounts. Like, what's that like for you?
It's tough. I think, that's why we wrote a song about it, because it's so interesting to figure out and navigate and feel good about, and make sure that you're doing your best and giving your all, but also not putting too much into it, because social media is so tough to figure out how to feel good on there. There's most of the time I end up feeling more alone after I'm done scrolling, or I'm done, accidentally stalking someone or whatever it is, because you just get on these like random rabbit trails. Totally.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to think about it in real life. Like, why do we spend our time just constantly insta stalking other people, or just living vicariously through other people's lives? Yeah, it's been interesting to sort of figure out, and that's why we also wanted to write about it, because it feels so important to talk about for anyone of any age, but especially for our generation. It's so weird because we have access to so much, and we have for a long time. And we've just kind of grown up that way. But just figuring out, okay, what's healthy and what's a good balance between real life and having real connections and relationships, but also staying involved on social media, because we work on there. We talk to our fans as much as we can, and
you guys have like really good engagement.
Thanks. And we try, but I can't put too much into that, because there are times where I am focusing too much on responding to literally as many people as I can, and then I just feel so drained and feel weird because I've been on my phone way too much. Burned out, exactly. So I'm still trying to figure it out, and this is just like our way of opening up the conversation about it, so we can all just sort of figure it out together somehow, and just feel better about ourselves, and you know, feel better about our own lives instead of just constantly comparing my everyday of, okay, I just woke up and I feel gross, you know, because that just happens sometimes, and I'm looking at someone's beautiful edited photo of them that they chose because they thought they looked great, you know, so it's a thing we have to be mindful of. But all that to say, it's tough to figure out because we want to be in it. We don't want to just delete Instagram and give up. We just want to find some sort of balance, exactly, so we can all hopefully feel better about it. But yeah, it's, I think, hard for everyone.
I saw, like, back then, like a couple months ago maybe, that it was either you or Sydney or something posted about, like, meeting the Obamas. What, like, do you ever feel like any type of way being in the public eye and sharing, like, anything political like that? Like, you also posted about, like, March for Our Lives. What's it like to have, like, political opinions but in a public scene?
Yeah, it's a funny dynamic. And I would say that, like, we as a band, from our, like, shared account or whatever, we haven't gone super political. But when it comes to things that, like, are really kind of necessary conversations to have that aren't even necessarily political, you know, we're not tweeting about tax law and stuff like that, you know, we're not talking about Social Security, which all that stuff's good, and we should dialogue about that, but, like, I think March for Our Lives, and even that was, like, in a lot of ways, I think if you were actually there, and we didn't actually get it, but, like, when you read from people that were actually there, it wasn't a political thing. It was more that people were coming to bring, and it is someone in the political realm, but you're coming to bring, like, because you're passionate about, like, wanting to protect young people's lives, and not necessarily, like, not everyone had the same ideas of how you solve that exactly, but we need to talk, we need to have that conversation. If anything, like, that's what I value most, because if we aren't having that dialogue, we aren't going to figure it out. And
you're not going to make any progress or, like, learn from the other side.
Because we've had all sorts of kinds of, you know, parties in power, and there's not been much difference, you know, for all sorts of things at different times. And different people and different leaders have caused change, but, like, I think it has to start with us dialoguing and influencing the institutions in our country to, I don't know, be driven by more empathy and more love and more care for one another. Because then you'll actually have change that is good.
So let's talk about, like, some of the highlights, like, of your career. Like, you performed with Taylor Swift. Like, what was that like? She's, like, America's sweetheart and, like, the ultimate pop star.
No, she is so awesome. And what's cool about that is that she actually is so sweet, and she is so cool, and everything that you hope that she would be, you know, and that's really fun to experience that, and the fact that, you know, we got to hang out, and I got to sing on her tour twice, and get to know her a little bit, is so cool, because of course, I've always loved her music, like you said, America's Sweetheart, everyone does, and it's just nice to meet someone that you've looked up to for a long time, and they actually live up to and surpass those expectations that you had, and you're like, wow, this person's actually really cool, because not everyone in the music industry or, you know, the entertainment industry is cool and nice and thoughtful and stuff like that, and she actually is. So I just feel lucky that, I don't know, we've gotten to have those really cool experiences to, you know, kind of get to know each other and all that. It was just such a cool experience getting to sing with her, but also getting to know her in the process was, I don't know, just so fun and so exciting and thrilling.
Like, you guys won the MTV Fandom Awards. Like, do you have anything to say about that?
MTV Fandom Awards. I mean, honestly, like, I've always felt like we're the underdogs, which is fun. It's like to know that even, like, we have enough fans that, like, could get us into little awards like that and stuff. It's kind of weird and shocking. Like, I'm just, like, a kid from the valley. I don't know. Like, it's just, stuff like that's pretty amazing. So, like, to me, like, I don't really care much about awards, you know, I care much more about, like, the people in my life loving me and me loving them, you know, but, like, to have people around the world connecting to the art that we make, that to me is just so impactful. And if an award kind of points to that, or even if a nomination, because we most certainly don't win, there are many fandoms that are quite a bit bigger than ours, so, like, the fact that we have people that care enough to, like, get us even in conversations like that is really just an honor and a total joy for us.
And another highlight is you guys, like, have been on a world tour.
Yes.
Tell me about that, like, touring other places to perform your own music.
I love traveling the world playing our music. Honestly, like, to hear people that often don't even speak English, but like singing lyrics, like Cool Kids and stuff like that. Or it's like, it's such a joy. It shows that like we're so much more alike than I think television or media or whatever like can sometimes portray. Like we really like, we care about family, we care about community, and we care about music and the power that the way that it can influence us and help us and care for us. And that's totally universal. And that and that's why we do it, you know, to write these songs and to like hear people from all these different cultures, all sides of the world, and every social class and all that stuff. It's like, it's just incredible to hear that they can connect with art that we're making. And that like, it's beautiful, it's so human. And that, I mean, it just inspires me every day to keep making music and make art that means something.
How would you say like your band has changed over the past like decade since you guys were formed in 2009?
I think it became more alternative. Became more.
Yeah, because you guys are doing like a bunch of like different like kind of music with like different genres, right?
Yeah.
Like EDM and like Christian rock and like a bunch of other kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Because we've grown up so much, that's changed, you know, our influences. And even though we have so many of the same influences still, you know, it's opened us up to having different influences I may have never heard of or been interested in when I was, I don't know, 14 or something like that. So I think just growing up and growing through life has just changed us as people, as everyone does, especially in like these formative years. So that in turn has changed our music, because, you know, our music is just an extension of us and who we are and what we're feeling or what we're into and stuff like that. So I would say it's definitely been, I don't know, like an ever-changing process that I think will always happen no matter what, because every day I feel like we're changing, you know?
Totally.
So, yeah, but I really like that. Otherwise, I think it would get so boring if you're just the same everything all the time. And I think all of us are changing, so I think it's important to let your music follow that.
And we've gone through, quite a bit of changes. You know, when Jamie left, he was a really integral part of how we made music. You know, we were so used to, as a four-piece, you know, vibing off of each other, you know, each other's artistic styles and all that. And so to lose that, at least in that setting, was difficult. And so we spent a lot of time trying to figure out just who we were and how we created as all of a sudden, you know, a three-piece. And I'd say, like, the EP we put out in 2017 was a good showcase of us trying to figure that out. But I'd say this record we have coming up, Your Lonely Generation, feels like we've arrived. And not that we're done, but that we've reached, like, the first checkpoint of this new era, you know? We're still making music. I try to be in the studio a couple days a week if we're not doing too many other things and stuff, just making new music, because I value always advancing the art forward, to be innovative, to be interesting, and to consistently challenge ourselves, because I think we have a lot of room to grow, and that's awesome.
Especially being like so young still, like experiencing like life is happening.
I mean, we're young, we get, as long as we live the, you know, standard amount of time, you know, the average age, we have a lot of time, you know, like we got that on our side in a sense. So like we're just working and trying, and I think our fans have been really cool and like allowing us the freedom to go through that, you know, and I think they'll hopefully keep seeing how we're pushing ourselves to grow musically and lyrically, and even just like the conceptual side of what we're doing and the art, the music videos, all that stuff. Like, we're really pushing ourselves to keep growing. And I certainly, like, I'm already thinking of like the next thing, how it could advance, how it could be better, how it can be, I don't know, something that is more impactful to me and stuff. So I think it's good to be thinking that way and to be thinking forward. And
Yeah, totally.
so, being stoked on life, you know?
Have you changed over the past decade or so?
I think I've just realized the importance of a lot of things, but just prioritizing what's important to me and learning what that even is. And I'm, like I said, like, I'm still learning all this stuff about myself and about life and everything in between. So I don't know, but I think I've just realized that it's so important to invest time into yourself and into relationships that you really care about and that you value and stuff like that. And that really gives you such a better quality of life if you spend time investing in it and investing
Totally.
in yourself. And you're going to feel better at the end of the day and feel more charged up to do your job, whatever it is, if you have spent that time, even if it's just a few minutes in the morning, without your phone and just, you know, reading something or just spending time with the person you love or whatever it is. I think it's so important to have that. And I usually am like so like crazy rushing all day, every day, and we have something to do. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm running late and I have to throw this on. And then I didn't have any time to myself and I just went nonstop all day long. And then I feel so drained at the end of the day, and you still feel tired and stuff like that. But I've just sort of learned, okay, this is okay to think about what I need to feel, I don't know, good, because you want to wake up every day, excited about life and excited about, you know, what today could bring and all that, and you're not going to have that as much if you don't even have time to think about it. So yeah, prioritizing myself and self-care and stuff like that has been important, but also, I don't know, just investing in other people too, because you never know how long you have with that person either. So that's kind of a, I don't know, not, you don't want to think about it too much and get, you know, really sad. But I think thinking of it to an extent is good, so that you're investing in your family that, you know, you have around and stuff like that while you can. And yeah, so I'm just learning priorities and actually putting them into play, even if it's like a crazy week or something. So yeah, I'm trying.
Got you.
Man, I've changed, I feel like, a lot. I mean, obviously, like, you know, the core of who I am as a human being has stayed fairly consistent, but I think inevitably when you travel the world a lot, when you're gone a lot, and when you're going through all sorts of weird things in life, I mean, life is just peculiar and strange. It's like when you go through that stuff, you do change, you know? Just our minds and our body, all that stuff. It's like, it's moving with time. Entropy does its work. So, like, I don't know, I'd say I've grown in a lot of ways, and also I've seen, like, oh, I have a lot of stuff to work on, you know, which I think is good. It's good to self-evaluate and reflect and think, like, how can I grow as a human being to, like, be a good friend, be a good sibling, be a good, and for me, husband and stuff, and part of a community. How can I care for the people in my life? And that's something I value. And I was thinking about that today, actually. Like, oh, dang, like, this year it could have been better. But you know what? At the end of the day, like, if I can keep trying to grow and just try, that's
as long as you're trying every day, that's
trying,
what matters.
You know? Yeah, totally.
What does love mean to you?
Man, that is a big question, but a good one. I would say love means like everything to me. I've always been all about love and loved love, period. Obviously, I was always excited about my own love and what I could have one day and stuff like that, but I was always so excited for other people's love too. So it's always been something that has been like a part of me and something that I cared about so much. So I would say love means everything, and that's like, what would life be without love? I don't know, I don't want to sound like a cheesy rom-com or something, but there would be, I don't know, not really a point, you know what I mean? I think you need to have love in your life to be happy, but also to just feel good, you know, and it's kind of this like warm, beautiful thing that can just have the crazy potential to grow so much, whether it's, you know, romantically or family or friends or whatever. I think it's just such a beautiful thing that a lot of people, you know, don't get to experience as much, and I think it's something worth investing into. But I think it's like everything. Love means everything to me. So
just your whole life.
I want it. I want to have that be the center of my life forever. So that's a big goal.
Love is so powerful, and God created it.
How do you like apply love in your life?
I apply love by hanging out with people and being there for them.
Your friends and stuff.
Yeah, and buying them food.
That's Cheesecake Factory and coffee.
Love. I think love. Ooh, that's a great question. And I keep using the word dynamic, but I think love is dynamic. I think love is meant to be something that is bolstered through time and difficulty, and also extreme joy, you know, and elation and all that. I mean, that's what I've experienced. I've seen that with my family. I've seen that with my parents. You know, they're still together 27 years later. You know, they got
pretty
married in
rare.
a drive-through in Vegas, you know, and they're still together. It's like the craziest thing. And like, if I can like learn one thing from that, it's like a whole lot of grace for each other from them, and also just like, I don't know, it's working through the grime of life. And same thing with family, you know, as a family, like working together, traveling together, being exhausted together. You go through a lot. And we've most certainly gone through that. So like, to fight through that and to choose to actively pursue communion with each other, I think grows a deeper and more powerful love. And like, it's hard. Love is never easy with anyone, because human beings, we all kind of stink so often.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not easy to love. So I feel bad for anyone that has to love me. But I don't know, just to push through it is a beautiful thing. It's refined through the fire.
What do you want to be remembered for?
For being the best person I could be, and spreading hope and love to people.
I really would love to be remembered by, obviously, I hope our music can be helpful to people, but also at the end of the day, like, I hope our music and anything we do through it and outside of it can be just, I don't know, like a tool to, or a vehicle to share some love with people and share some hope with them, and let them know, hey, you're not alone, and you are loved, and you are special, and you are great as you are, because I think there's so many messages going around saying kind of the opposite.
Yeah, especially on social media.
Especially on social media. You don't, you know, have to get anything done to be beautiful. Like, you are, it's because you are you, you know? So I just want people to remember ECHOSMITH, or remember Sydney as people or a band that actually cared about other people, and cared about other people feeling better about themselves and better about their lives. And I don't know, we just really want to be able to help people through as much as we can, even if it's just saying, hey, we're here with you. And just being there for someone is, you know, can mean everything. So I would love to be remembered by all of that if possible.
Honestly, I want to be remembered most by the people that live in the area that I live in. You know, I want to be able to make a true impact with the people that are like truly within my community. And you know, if there's like people around the world that can like know who I am, that's cool. And to make music that like people around the world can connect to is awesome. But like, if I can live my life in such a way that like can impact people that I day-to-day interact with, you know, people at the grocery store, people at the gas station, or the homeless dude in the street outside, or whatever, like stuff like that, like you see and you're physically around. I mean, I hope that I can live a life that impacts them and shows them love and care and empathy, and I don't know, try that.
Yeah.
So I think if we can focus on our local communities in ways, we can really make a really beautiful amount of change. I think being faithful to that is pretty cool. That's what I try, at least.
It's also a lot easier to focus on like being kind to the people that you meet, instead of thinking of like how hard it is to like make huge impacts on like the world and stuff.
Totally. Because most of us don't get the chance to change the world.
Totally.
So often you hear in like all sorts of faith communities, all sorts of podcasts, or whatever, it's like, how can you change the world? Or like inspirational speakers.
It's too much
like,
pressure.
We can't. And we honestly, most people aren't given the ability. And there are certain people that like have that sway in culture, you know, but I'm not Taylor Swift, you know, I don't have that power. So like, I'm gonna try to be like faithful to the things that I have directly in front of me. And if I can do that in a careful and nuanced and kind way, then like that's, I'd be stoked on that. You know, so I'm working on that for sure.
Well, thanks for joining us for Sidewalk Talk.
Totally.
Cool.
Thanks.
Of course! Oh my gosh, I was so excited to take a walk today. This was great.